and YouTube. Good morning, Jasmine.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm your host, Jasmine Herwan. I'd like to greet our viewers that are not able to tune in from Foxtel/Australia, Macau Cable TV Channel 84, Vision Philippine Channel 58, Air Cable Philippine, and Singtel Singapore Channel 15, as well as StarHub Channel 720. Alrighty, folks, let's start the show with our headlines for today.
More on the story that we reported yesterday, where emergency response personnel has helped clear inundated homes and provide medical assistance to residents on Wednesday after floods claimed at least 72 lives in southern and eastern Spain.
Next up, personnel from the 4th Indonesian Navy base in Batam recently worked with the first fleet to thwart the trafficking of 18 illegal Indonesian migrant workers to Malaysia.
Moving on to Indonesia, where the Indonesian government is trying to save PT Sri Rezeki Isman, or Sritex company, from bankruptcy. Part of this measure is by ensuring that factories are still running.
And basketball enthusiasts, well, stay tuned, because later we will be having two of the Harlem Globetrotter members onto our talk show and perhaps teach us a few tricks. Well, maybe not that one. That one looks a little trickier. So there you go, Karina.
Can you do that?
Question. Absolutely not, but I'm hoping at least they can teach me how to spin a ball. I've always wanted to learn how to spin a ball. I can't even do that.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, and I think... I remember vaguely, I was really young at the time, before Toronto, when I lived there, before we had our own NBA professional team. I actually watched the Harlem Globetrotters.
Really?
I remember who the members were that were there at the time, because they constantly change from year to year, but they've been around since the 20s. I remember seeing them.
Have you always been into basketball since you were
I have,
younger?
but this is a more interesting take on basketball, where it's more sports entertainment. It's not really, I mean, it's supposed to, in the setting of a competitive game, but it's actually for fun, and it's family friendly. It's great to
There's a lot of comedy involved.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's really funny.
Wow. So that's a teaser right there.
Yeah. And that'll be enough for now. Anyway, we've got world news coming your way in the first segment. So let's begin with our first story, where American actor Mark Ruffalo recently joined Native American activists for a Walk to the Polls event in Fort Defiance, Arizona.
And there they campaigned for the importance of the Native Americans' role in the U.S. elections.
Tobacco smoke billowed from a shell as the sound of ululation emerged from the crowd. Navajo activist and Protect the Sacred founder Al Young said that Arizona has a native DNA and they should be proud of it. She was there to encourage her people and all Native Americans to vote. This year's election is special to them, as it also marks 100 years of citizenship for Native Americans in the United States.
You know, our communities are up against so much voter suppression. You know, since we got the right to vote, we've had these barriers. But we're here today to say that we're not letting those barriers stop us, and we're coming together as community, and we're showing our power.
Meanwhile, Navajo social media influencer Ian Teller used a video to inform his fellow Native Americans about the voting process and remind them of their own influence in the elections.
It's going to be a very close vote in Arizona, and I think the potential that Native people have in this elections to change the outcome is going to be really interesting. I mean, if you think about 2020, where the state was carried by Joe Biden by only 10,000 votes, in that election there was about maybe 60,000 Navajo Hopi voters. That goes to show and say, it says a lot about how powerful the Native vote will be in this state.
The group chanted Shinasha, which means I walk, when they marched. It was a song sung by their ancestors after signing the Navajo Treaty in 1868 and being freed by the U.S. Army.
Some of us think that voting is, you know, a colonial construct, and it is. But it's, but also voting, it existed in our communities. Democracy comes from Indigenous communities. And so that's what this is about. It's about honoring our ancestors who fought for us to be here.
We're indeed getting closer to the U.S. elections, and the U.S. presidential nominee Donald Trump held a rally in Allentown, Pennsylvania just yesterday, where his fellow Republican Senator Marco Rubio criticized recent remarks by President Joe Biden that appear to label Trump supporters as, quote, garbage.
Biden joined on Tuesday a video call with civic group Voto Latino, denouncing language used at Trump's recent rally in Madison Square Garden that compared Puerto Rico to an island of garbage. Biden later said that the only garbage he sees are Trump supporters.
Rubio, however, told the crowd that Biden's remarks were an attack on those who love their country. Trump followed by defending his track record on Puerto Rico, pointing to substantial relief funding and a hospital ship that was deployed after the 2017 hurricane as evidence of his support for the territory.
Thank you very much, everybody. All right, well, I wasn't going to say anything, but I have breaking news for you, Mr. President. You may not have heard this. Just moments ago, Joe Biden stated that our supporters are garbage. Are garbage. He's talking about the Border Patrol. He's talking about nurses. He's talking about teachers. He's talking about everyday Americans who love their country and want to dream big again and support you, Mr. President. And I hope their campaign is about to apologize for what Joe Biden just said. We are not garbage. We are patriots who love America. And thank you for running, Mr. President.
And I'm so proud that we're getting support from Latinos like never before. We're setting every record. Hispanics, Latinos. Nobody loves our Latino community and our Puerto Rican community more than I do. Nobody. You know, it's interesting because I've done more for Puerto Rico than any president by far. Nobody close. I provided historic funding and the hospital ship when they were hit with a couple of really bad ones right in the road. We got the ship over there with thousands of rooms, actually. It was amazing. A floating hospital, the biggest in the world.
Now, I'm sure both of you have watched the video of the comedian Tawny Hitchcliffe's comment on Puerto Ricans, especially in Trump's rally. Now, this has actually caused an online outrage. Now, especially because Trump is also going to be in Pennsylvania, which actually, statistically speaking, has over 500,000 Puerto Ricans in the state of Pennsylvania. And in Arlington itself, there's 55% of Latino as well as 45% of Puerto Ricans. So again, this is a very damageful impact towards the Latino community that he's trying to tap in, especially in a swing state like Pennsylvania. And I just want to add on to what this comedian said that outraged a lot of people. Now, he said there's a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean. Now, I thought it was going to be about climate change. However, he took it as, I think it's called Puerto Rico. And then the second one, he said, I welcome migrants to the U.S. with open arms. And by open arms, he meant like this. He went, so again, that is a very dismissive view towards migrants coming into the U.S. and has shown the disdain of, preventing migrants from coming in, and making it into a joke, as well as, underlying the issue that this is an important matter in the U.S. politics recently, with Kamala Harris also vouching for, border protection. A lot of people in the U.S. are having a really hard time on who to vote, and this is not making any easier for swing states to vote for Trump, because AOC jumped on CNN recently to, talk about this issue, and she said the language that was used by the Trump campaign, the person is vetted by the Trump campaign, so he's speaking on behalf of the Trump campaign. You don't insinuate the Latinos are un-American or less American if you truly value them. And adding on to this, political strategist Luis Miranda also said this was his rally. So essentially, he's actually speaking on behest of Donald Trump and making it, because Trump tried to separate himself between the comedian's statements as well as his statement. However, in a political scenario like this, of course, there's going to be a lot of his team members who have already checked and already overlooked at what the materials are going to be, and they allowed for it to happen. So, you can't just essentially separate yourself from that. Now, Victor Martinez, a radio host from La Mega, asked around the community and audiences if Trump's statements or, separating himself are actually going to change. And the answers are actually no, it's too late. Now, through Martinez independent research, we show that, this hasn't really helped Trump getting the votes of Latinos getting into, the Republican Party. And, it just shows that it's still an ongoing feud between what are Trump's really, what's Trump's motive towards Latino Americans. So again, it's very messy to begin with, and I think it's not an easy task to do to just, simply dismissing the comedian for coming in to his rally and having said all these very, very negative and bad things about Latino American community, just to, let it go as if nothing happened.
Yeah, certainly out-of-pocket comments coming during a very crucial time as we are just days away from the campaign. And in fact, Biden's comments also drew controversial reactions as well, including from one Kamala Harris. She's actually distanced herself from Joe Biden's comments, which were actually a response to what the comedian said about Puerto Ricans, saying that she strongly disagrees with any criticism of people based on who they vote for, insinuating basically that in case you're wondering if Biden's comments were directed at the voters or Puerto Ricans or whoever, she just intends to be a president for all Americans, including those who don't even cast their ballot for her. And political experts say that the vice president's comments were a moment of damage control for her own presidential campaign. But everyone still thinks, despite all of this happening, it's still unclear whether voters are going to be taking these particular comments from a comedian during a rally into the ballot box when they actually make their vote.
Yeah, I mean, especially because recently, I believe in Michigan, the ballot boxes have been burned. So there's also an act of, terrorism, as you can say it, in terms of voters' rights to vote. And, all those had to be recasted again because, the situation in the U.S. in terms of U.S. politics has been very, very sensitive in this matter. Now, continuing the story, Kamala Harris urged Americans to write the next chapter for their country and rejected Donald Trump's chaos and division. And she delivered a powerful closing argument to voters on Tuesday against the glowing backdrop of the White House.
The Democratic vice president warned against Trump's lust for unchecked power as she addressed a mass rally at the site of the January 6th, 2021 riots at the U.S. Capitol.
Harris also told an audience in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday that she has, quote, lived the promise of America, casting her rise from the daughter of immigrants to the top of a major party's presidential ticket as living the American dream.
Harris used the finale to her closing argument speech in Washington, D.C. to say voters are, quote, not a vessel for the schemes of wannabe dictators, end quote.
The United States of America is the greatest idea humanity ever devised. A nation big enough to encompass all our dreams, strong enough to withstand any fracture or fissure between us, and fearless enough to imagine a future of possibilities. So, America, let us reach for that future. Let us fight for this beautiful country we love. And in 7 days, we have the power, each of you has the power to turn the page and start writing the next chapter in the most extraordinary story ever told.
All right, we're going to continue to follow along all the developments. We are less than a week away from the U.S. elections and obviously keep you apprised of any latest developments. In the meantime, though, if you have not opened Instagram yet this morning, when you do, there's a couple of accounts you may want to search for, as the Indonesian Presidential Communications Office on Monday launched 2 official Instagram accounts. They are at Republik Indonesia and at Presiden Republik Indonesia.
Yes, the at Presiden Republik Indonesia account quickly gained over 600,000 followers, while at Republik Indonesia attracted more than 500,000 followers already.
The at Republik Indonesia account features the national red and white flag as its profile picture and has a verified blue tick. The bio states it is managed by the Presidential Communications Office.
And a recent post showcasing our Indonesian flag received nearly 300,000 likes and thousands of comments.
The @Republik Indonesia account follows just 4 accounts, namely President Prabowo Subianto, Vice President Gibran Rakabuming Raka, the Presidential Communications Office, and the President's official account.
The @Presiden Republik Indonesia account intended to use as an official channel for the presidential institution, which also follows key government accounts and has posted a photo of Prabowo.
2 new accounts to follow this morning if you haven't
I was just going
already.
to say, it's almost at 900,000
Yep.
followers
Wow.
now.
There you go.
And let me do a quick...
follow?
Yeah, and it's the one for presidential the presidential account is at almost 1 million followers.
Wow.
So we're really getting a lot of followers, and only
go.
one post in each account there.
That is awesome, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, Indonesians are very prone to using, Instagram.
Hey, we love our
We love our social media.